was here last time we dealt with this issue, or we were just beginning to deal with this particular issue before you departed, I think.
Yeah, we've actually covered it a couple of times, and I've discussed it. I know when I was on with Sam Shamoon, we went through this fairly clearly. I debated Shabir Ali on this subject in London, and that is the claim that Muhammad is found in the Bible, which most Christians are not aware of, and they're surprised when you mention it to them. But which I have been discovering more and more as I have been, I'm continuing my studies of Islam and have even since I was here the last time. It certainly has struck me that this is a central theme in Muhammad's own understanding of his prophethood. And so if it is untrue that Muhammad is found in the Bible, if the Bible actually has no reference whatsoever to this Arabian prophet, then the Quran itself, which in a number of different threads makes this assertion, would have to be demonstrated not to be the Word of God at that point. And so there's a reason why Muslims have worked so hard. I think of Ahmed Deedat, and in fact, the last time I was here, we played clips. The very same clips from Ahmed Deedat we played here on ABM back in August in responding to his claims concerning Muhammad in the New Testament. We played those clips and responded to them, the very same ones that are going to appear in a video that we're going to look at this evening. Because evidently, I guess someone ran across the ABN videos on YouTube and contacted you.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I hope that we have at least one Muslim, I'm sure we got a lot of viewers, but one Muslim viewer named Khalid, and he sent me an email through ABN here, and essentially, and I'm waiting for my computer to come up, but to summarize his question, he asserted in his email, don't you realize that the Bible, there is proof that the Bible mentions Muhammad, absolutely. There's no doubt about it. And he directed me by YouTube to a link that he said is going to demonstrate this, and you need to watch it. Don't you? And before that, actually, he was. I won't read all of his email because it's not all germane to the topic tonight. But nevertheless, he was kind of talking about why is it that you at ABN want to attack Islam as opposed to the Jews? After all, it's the Jews that crucified Jesus. And you know, the Jews do not believe or honor Jesus. We honor Jesus. And don't you know that Jesus is even mentioned in your own scriptures?
Or that Muhammad is mentioned.
I'm sorry, thank you. That Muhammad is mentioned, and this is in capital letters. You know, it's like this is absolute, definite, you know, can't you get it through your thick skull? You know, that kind of thing, at least coming through on the email, although he was very kind in some of his greetings.
And, you know, we have to assume that this is someone who is sincere. I mean, how many Christians could address the issue of the claim that Muhammad is mentioned in the Bible or have listened carefully to what the Muslims say? In fact, I wanted to mention something. You know, at the beginning of this video, we're going to show it. I keep mentioning it, but we're going to show it here in just a moment. At the beginning of this video, people like Jimmy Swaggart are shown. And they're making statements about Muhammad's not found the Bible and things like that. Now, I would imagine that was probably from his debate with Ahmed Deedat, which was
what, in the 80s?
Oh, it was quite some time ago. Yeah, it was in the 80s, and it was a painful thing to listen to. I mean, that's as enjoyable as chewing on aluminum foil. But most Muslims have seen that debate. They haven't seen Josh McDowell's debate with Ahmed Deedat, but they've seen that one. It just struck me a little bit. I'm sure that you said the gentleman's name was Khalid. Khalid.
Yeah.
I would imagine that Khalid probably hasn't spoken with Christians who have taken the time to thoroughly examine what the Muslims are saying. But there are those of us who seek to show respect for others by listening carefully to what it is that they believe and accurately trying to, as best we can. We may fail at times, but trying as best we can to accurately represent what they believe. I wanted to give an illustration of this. This is one of the books that I've brought with me on my trip just for reading and my own study. This is an explanation of Muhammad ibn Abd al-Wahhab's Kitab al-Tawheed. which is one of the important Islamic works that helped to almost in a reformation of Islamic monotheism. I'm listening to I think it's a 16-hour series of lectures from Sheikh Yasser Qadi on this particular book. So I'm reading the book that his class was listening to, and then listening to the class lectures on this subject, which is not specifically on Christianity, obviously. It's not it's not necessarily apologetic. The point is to be able to understand what Muslims believe, why they believe it, so as to have better interaction with them. And I hope that Khalid will listen to our response to this material. And first of all, that Khalid will understand this is nothing new to us. This is not new material. As I said, the very same section from Ahmed Deedat that is found in this material, we responded to this. I showed this material in my debate, as I recall, with Shabir Ali. If I didn't, I added it in very shortly thereafter. We are very, very familiar with these things, and I hope Khalid will have an open ear and an open mind and an open heart. And that I abjure you, please, sir, consider one thing. Apply the same standards to Christianity that you do to Islam and vice versa. Don't use double standards. For example, Brother Joseph, do you know what a mushahideen is? Mushahideen. A person who engages in jihad.
Oh, yes. Yes, mujahideen. Yes.
Mujahideen.
Yes.
And who are the mushrikeen?
Yeah. Well, it depends who you ask, but it's the polytheists. Some would say us.
Exactly. But what makes someone a mushrikeen?
He commits shirk.
Okay. So, in both of those incidents, we have shirk as the root word.
Yes.
And then the one who does it is a mu, and then the root. Mushrikeen. Exactly, becomes the noun. Jihad. Mujahid, yes. the one who does jihad. Yes. Now, that's going to be important because there's something very similar in the evidence that Khalid has found to be so impressive. Yes. Is use the same standard. Could you look at the term mushrikeen and make any sense out of someone who tries to make a connection into another language outside of Arabic, not of the root shirk, but of mushrik? If you made some type of a connection to someone named mushrik in another language, in French or something like that, the person speaking Arabic will go, hold on, wait a minute.
Don't you know that means to shirk your duty?
Exactly. In English or something like that. Yeah. They go, no. The root is shirk. The mu there is part of the participial form, and you just don't understand the original language. Yeah. Well, that's exactly what we have going on in this situation too. So I think it would be good for us to take a look at the video. I'm going to have to be able to see the video over there actually to start it. If we could put it on the screen so that I can see it. Yeah. This is a video. It's available on YouTube, and it has very high quality. I mean, I was impressed. The at least first 5 or 6 minutes, as you and I both noted, got toward the end, and we had a bunch of dancing Jewish people that I really wasn't sure. It got weird. It got weird toward the end, but at least for the first 5 or 6 minutes, it was looking pretty good.
Well, I want to ask you real quickly. I don't have it written down, but there is at least one particular passage in the Quran where it talks about Jesus speaking of Ahmed.
Yes.
To come.
Yes, that's 7:157.
So this would be in the Quran. The Muslims who are looking for Jesus, for Muhammad in the Bible, this would be one of those verses, or the main verse.
Let me read the two of them. There's two of them that are very, very important.
Yes.
Surah 61:6 says, "And remember, Jesus, the son of Mary, said, O children of Israel, I am the apostle of Allah sent to you, confirming the law which came before me, and giving glad tidings of an apostle to come after me, whose name shall be Ahmed."
Ahmed.
There's Ahmed. So put into the very mouth of Jesus the assertion that they're going to be, he's announced glad tidings of an apostle to come after me, whose name shall be Ahmed.
And it doesn't say Muhammad, actually, it says Ahmed.
It says Ahmed. And then you have Surah 7:157, those who follow the apostle, the unlettered prophet, whom they find mentioned in their own scriptures in the law and the gospel, which is why they don't just go with the Deuteronomy 18 passage or the Song of Solomon passage, but they also try to find Muhammad in the Gospel of John, specifically in John 14 and 16, in the Parakletos, which they try to turn into. We'll look at those as well. But they're forced to this. They're forced to this by the authority of the Quran. And as long as a person believes that these words are absolutely true and will not test these words to see if they are true, if you start with the assumption that they're true, this is why people can look at the clearest refutation of this information and yet continue to believe it, even when on any other standard you just wouldn't go there. You just wouldn't do it. So if there's, I haven't seen the video come up yet, so we need the guys in the control room to give me the video. There we are. And unfortunately, since I'm past about 45 years of age now, I have to be able to put the glasses on to see what's over there now. Let's take a look at this video. Very well produced. Let's see what it says.
Upon every close scrutiny of the alleged references to Muhammad in the Bible as a prophet, they absolutely have no relation to the prophet of Muhammad, nor prophesy his coming.
Muhammad is not mentioned in the Old Testament. Muhammad is not mentioned anywhere from Genesis to Revelation.
Muhammad is God's true messenger. That's a joke.
Lo, we inspire thee as we inspired Noah and the prophets after him, as we inspired Abraham and Ishmael and Isaac and Jacob and the tribes, and Jesus and Job and Jonah and Aaron and Solomon, and as we imparted unto David the Psalms.
The verse we've just heard is from chapter 4 of the Quran. In the verse, God is affirming to humanity that Muhammad is indeed the recipient of a divine guidance, just as Noah, Abraham, and the rest of the prophets. However, some Christians and Jews today don't believe that Muhammad was a prophet and the covenant that God made with Abraham. And since the Quran is not their book of authority, in this video I'm going to show you that the book you're holding in your hands contains the name off the seal of prophethood, the Prophet Muhammad. As known, the Old Testament was preserved in the Hebrew language. In the 5th chapter of the Shir HaShirim, which is one of the 5 Megillat or sacred scrolls that are part of the Hebrew Bible, or for short the Song of Solomon, as Christians know it today. That chapter is discussing someone. Jews will say it is discussing Solomon, while Christians will say it is discussing Jesus. Considering this is the Songs of Solomon, it would seem logical that it is discussing Solomon. The verses, describing this mystery man, have the narrator's speech conjugated in the feminine, meaning it is a woman who is describing this man. So it is possible that it is one of Solomon's wives discussing her husband Solomon. However, Christians assert that Jesus is being discussed, and that the chapter is describing a man who was not yet alive at that point. A prophecy.
Let's see if we can stop right there. I want to stop right there and then go back to it. A couple things to correct at this point. Yes, it's true. This is a woman speaking. But the only presentation that is made in the video is that the only Christian view is that this is about Jesus. Now, there are Christian interpreters who have seen the Song of Solomon as a whole as a parable of the relationship of Christ to his church. There are a number of people who have seen that.
Yeah.
The New Testament writers do not make that connection, but I'm not going to argue against that. But what I am going to say is that there are a lot of other Christians who have not seen it that way and have not seen that necessarily what is being said, specifically in Song of Solomon 5:16, is specifically about Jesus as some prophetic, quote-unquote, mystery man. So there's this insertion of this idea of some mystery man. The fundamental meaning of the text, as we will look at it, it's going to be on here on the screen in just a moment. In the video, we'll look at it again afterwards. The fundamental meaning, however, is of a woman speaking of, we would assume, her husband, her probably kingly husband in this case, probably it was indeed Solomon, and there is a description of him, that his mouth is full of sweetness and he is altogether desirable, is the standard translation of this text. There are two terms that are used here that are adjectives. They're functioning as adjectives in the Hebrew language that talk about his mouth being full of sweetness, and that he, her beloved one, is wholly desirable. And that's the key term we're about to see focused upon here. But you'll notice it's sort of setting up, and maybe just out of ignorance, I can't necessarily say, what the intentions are, or whether even the people who put this together have ever heard a meaningful response to it. But it seems like the idea is, well, there's some mystery man here, and now we can find a way of shoehorning Muhammad into that. There's no mystery man here at all. It's very straightforward who's being discussed. Whether there's some future fulfillment, well, you have to provide some kind of basis for that. But wanted to correct that right off the bat.
And can I just ask you a couple of questions to clarify for me as well for the audience? We have here, most of this book is talking about this particular, almost the whole book is talking about this particular relationship.
Yes.
This word here in 5:16, it's not repeated verse after verse after verse.
Oh, no.
She's continually talking about the same person. But we just find this one word in this one verse in a book that talk about debate of meaning and application of particular parts of Scripture. That's in every religion. But in the Bible, Song of Solomon is perhaps one of the most debated within Christianity of exactly, is there allegorical interpretation? Is there spiritual meaning here, application? And, you look at it, we see Deuteronomy 18 that we'll talk about perhaps in the next show that Muslims like to use. Well, now here we have a specific prophecy about someone to come in the future. But this is
it's found in history. You can establish historical meanings at that particular time. Right.
But this has absolutely, you teach in seminary, the type of literature here is by no means prophetic whatsoever.
No, and not only that, but it doesn't fulfill even the Quran's own statement. Because think about it. Those who follow the apostle, the unlettered prophet, whom they find mentioned in their own scriptures in the law and the gospel, nobody reading this would have ever found Muhammad in any way, shape, or form, as we're about to see. But let's go ahead and let the video finish up here, because you can see the presentation.
Yes.
Let's continue on with it.
In reading the English translation of Song of Songs 5:16, it finishes the description by saying, he is altogether lovely, but what most people don't know is that the name of that man was given in the original Megillat. Here is verse 16, and how it is written in ancient Hebrew, before introducing the vowels, in the 8th century. From the Hebrew Bible, on scripturetext.com. Here is the word in question.
Stop it and look at it right there. Don't switch back. Don't switch back to me. Stay there on the video.
Yes.
They dropped the ending of the word.
Yes.
It's not Mahmad, which is what you have there. It's Mahmadim.
Yes.
Now they mention the plural ending a little bit later on, but when they pull this down here, there's two things they're going to do. They leave the ending, and they are calling this a name. This is not a name. This is an adjective. It is a descriptive adjective.
Put it back up, please.
With a mem preformative at the beginning of it. The root of that word is hamad.
Yeah.
It is not hamad, and they don't recognize the difference between the hey and the chet in the Hebrew language at this point, they sort of blur those two together, so you can end up with Hamad or Ahmed or something close to that, so it's close enough to Muhammad.
Technicians, give us the video full screen, please, and leave it like that.
You can still see it's just fading out above that, but you can see the plural ending has been lobbed off in what they have brought down and expanded out. So it's Mahmadim. Mahmadim is what is up above, and that is a plural, but it is a plural with a mem preformative. It is describing wholly desirable, just as before that there's another root that is used in the plural with a mem preformative, which means full of sweetness. And so these are functioning as adjectives, as descriptive words, and they never explain that. This is a name. No, it's not a name.
It's not a name.
The name is the beloved. That's the only name that's found there. This is not a name. This is a description. And so they're actually trying to make an adjective function as a name and going, well, see, Muhammad, Mahmadim, they're the same thing. No, they're not, because Hamad is the same root, and we will let the video finish, honestly we will. But Hamad is the exact same root that is found in the 10th commandment. You shall not Hamad, covet. That's the same root.
Same word.
Same word. This is a word that is found throughout the Old Testament. So one of two things has to happen. Either the Muslim who tries to use this argumentation has to say, well, this is the only use of Hamad in the Hebrew Old Testament that actually has to do with Muhammad because it has the preformative on it. And now you're doing the same thing that someone would say, well, a mushrikim is different than someone who commits shirk because you have to have the M at the front. What? It shows a complete ignorance of the original languages. Or you're going to have to say, oh yeah, every time the Hamad appears, that's actually about Muhammad. So thou shalt not covet. Thou shalt not covet. There's all sorts of negative and positive uses here that we'll look at in a moment. But the point is, the video does not show an understanding of the languages. And when you're trying to take what sounds like something from one language and drag it into another language, that is transparently fallacious argumentation that can be used to prove anything whatsoever. Absolutely anything whatsoever. You can't make that kind of argumentation. You just can't. So let's continue with the video here.
This word is made of 4 letters.
Mem, Het, Mem, Dalet.
Leave it there. It says this word is made up of 4 letters. No, it's not. That's a mem preformative. And so if they were going to say it's made up of 4 letters, they should have brought the entire word down, and it would have been made of 6 letters because you'd have an eem at the end. So you either have to go with the root, which is Hamad, or you have to go with the whole one. They're obviously now trying to massage this information to make it sound like Muhammad and make it look like Muhammad. That's very, very clear.
Now when reading the word as it is written in its original form, with no vowels, it can be read as Muhammad, which is the name of the Muslim prophet, or as Mamad with no A after the H.
Now notice what they're doing. They are confusing the het with the hey. That's not Muhammad. It's Mahmad. That is a hey there, not a het.
Explain the difference to our laypersons. There's 2 Hebrew letters that the hey would be the ha.
And the het has a much stronger, and it's a completely different letter, completely different roots, different sound, et cetera, et cetera. But they're playing on the fact that normally in transliteration, it's sort of like, you know, that the proper pronunciation is Sharia. But that sound is so difficult for English speakers to do. It almost always comes across as Sharia. And so it'd be like making a connection where you have an and an sound in Arabic when they're completely different roots. It's the same thing. They're playing games with us at this point. Let's go back to it, guys. There we go.
According to Ben Yehuda's Hebrew English Dictionary, it is correctly pronounced as Muhammad, not Mamad. So how we're going to know for sure if it's pronounced as Muhammad, the Muslim prophet, or as Mamad, a random Hebrew word? The only way is to give the verse to a rabbi and
Now, that is not the only way to find it, as if the rabbis are the final authority in all things, or something like that. But again, notice what they're doing. They're taking a mem preformative. They have taken the grammatical ending off. They've now created a new random word, and as most people should know, and this is the same in Arabic as well. Your roots are almost always triliteral, three letters. And the same thing in the Hebrew language. And so now you've created a four-letter word, as if, well, you know, does this have some meaning unto itself? No one would ever suggest that it does. This is not meaningful argumentation at all. But if we don't get to the end of this, we're going to have to go into the next part of the
Say to and please read. Here is the Song of Songs 5:16, and how it is read by a rabbi from a Hebrew Jewish site. Please notice, the im in Hebrew is a plural of respect.
חיכו ממתקים וכולו מעמדים, זה דודי וזרעי בנות ירושלים. חיכו ממתקים וכולו מעמדים, זה דודי וזרעי בנות ירושלים.
And it goes on from there. And again, you know, all this, you know, beautiful music and all the rest of this stuff. But this is, when I debated Shabir Ali on the issue of, is Muhammad prophesied in the Bible? Shabir is considered to be by most people probably the best that the Muslims have to present today. Some conservative Muslims find him a little bit too liberal, actually. But
swoon theory.
But he's very well read, very sharp. And what I found to be interesting was he did not present the Song of Solomon. He did not present this text in his opening statement. So when I got up, knowing that he had in the past, I went ahead and addressed it because I felt, well, you know, if he's done it in the past, then it makes sense. And what I did is I took the time to look up some examples of actually the full, with the mem preformative use of makmadim. And I pointed out that in 1 Kings 26, if this is Muhammad in Song of Solomon, then 1 Kings 20 verse 6 is Muhammad taken away from a house in 1 Kings 20 verse 6. If not, why not? Because you have the same term used there. Is Muhammad destroyed by fire in 2 Chronicles 36:19? Exactly
the same word.
And did Muhammad become a ruin in Isaiah 64:10? If you're going to make this kind of argumentation, then you have to be consistent. Why is it in this one place, just because it sounds like Muhammad, it actually isn't, but it sounds like Muhammad, why this one place? Why not these other places, which would then turn Muhammad into a ruin or something like that? And then I demonstrated the foolishness of this by noting that there is a Hebrew term, shabar. Now, my opponent was named Shabir. Now, I was going to come up with some way of doing it with you, but Joseph's too much of a biblical name to begin with, so I really couldn't.
I'm safe.
You were safe. I couldn't come anything. But Shabir would be the same three letters as shabar in the Hebrew language. And I point out that in Psalm 105:16, it says, and he called for a famine upon the land. He broke the whole staff of bread. And I pointed out that there had been many famines in the past in London. Much bread is made in London, too. All the bakeries found in London. Therefore, since a term that sounds like Shabir appears in this text, is translated as he broke, then clearly Psalm 105:16 is a prophecy of Shabir Ali coming to London. Must be. Well, actually, it has nothing to do with it at all, obviously, and we recognize that. In the same way, turning an adjective, an adjectival noun found in the Song of Solomon that has a specific meaning. It means an object of desire with a mem preformative in the plural, which means he is wholly desirable. What does that have to do with someone who lived in the 6th century. How is that even prophetic? It's not prophetic, it's descriptive.
No.
It's descriptive of a situation. At that time, it has a clear meaning. And to take Arabic and what a word sounds like in Arabic and bring that in, ignoring the difference between 2 letters in the original anyways, ignoring the root and then putting a mem, doing all that kind of stuff, that is the kind of argumentation that is used to prove anything. It is beneath any truth seeker. And I would say to Khalid, Khalid, if you believe that that video you were shown is a truthful video, compare what we've said, look at the Hebrew, take the time to get hold of my debate with Shabir Ali on these subjects. I discussed this in that debate. He didn't try to defend it, but we also went through all the other texts at that time, as we will later in this program, or in the later program this evening. Look at these things, Khalid, because there is no validity to the argumentation whatsoever.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. White. And we're going to take this issue back up right after the break. Jesus or Muhammad with Dr. James White. Our topic tonight for this show and the next live show that starts at 9 p.m. Eastern is talking about Muhammad being found in the Bible. And as Dr. White has pointed out in Surah 7, 157, Surah 61, 6, in Islam there is this need to find Muhammad prophesied, mentioned, foretold somewhere in the Bible. And in particular, by the way, it says it's in 7, 157, in the Torah or in the Anjil. As a matter of fact, Song of Solomon technically is not in the Torah or the Anjil.
Right.
So they're kind of missing it on that. But I'm going to give it back to Dr. White. I think you want to show maybe a little bit more of the video.
Let's just see what a little bit more of the video is, because there is a section where they mention specifically Ahmed Deedat and his argumentation on this. And like I said, we had played a portion of this. Let's just pick up another minute or so of it.
חיכו ממתקים וכולו מחמדים, זה דודי וזרעי בנות ירושלים. חיכו ממתקים וכולו מחמדים, זה דודי וזרעי בנות ירושלים.
Managed to find it.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah, because the AVN thing's right over top of the control on my things. I'm not sure where it is. I was shooting in the dark there, but notice how, and this was something that Joseph mentioned when we were listening to it. They even took the quotation from the Jewish rabbi, and they cut the pronunciation, so all you hear is Mahmad. And you don't hear Mahmadim. You're taking the ending off, and still you're not recognizing the difference between the hey and the chet in the pronunciation of the words. So it's obviously meant to have a particular impact on the reader who can't check these things out for themselves. And it is interesting, at the end of this, they go to some convert or something that's was talking to Jewish rabbis, and well, the Jewish rabbis know that Muhammad was a prophet and stuff like this. I'm like, really? They know that?
Is that Yahya Snow, that guy on the end?
I have no idea who that is.
I think it might be. He's like an Irish fellow. David Wood has interacted with him, maybe debated him or something.
I have no idea who's on at the end.
He'll come up in a little
bit. It is interesting. But then you've got this music going, and this great discovery has taken place. And it's all meant. I suppose we should take a lesson from it. That you shouldn't believe everything you see. That the emotional impact of music and video. I think about the Da Vinci Code that came out a few years ago, and I remember I went to see it as soon as it opened because I had been lecturing about its errors for a long, long time. And I remember at the end hearing some women down front just so emotionally impacted by this pure fiction. I mean, it's utter fiction, and in fact, when it talks about history, it's the opposite of the reality of history. It's just ridiculously bad stuff. but because your favorite actors are up there and it's on the big screen and you've got music and you've got the camera angles and all the rest of this stuff, how many people have made eternal decisions based upon such foolishness as that? We really should recognize that discernment is a Christian characteristic. We are to be discerning people. When it says to be sober-minded, you know, the term sober normally in our thinking has to do with not being drunk with wine or something like that. But sober-minded is someone who is serious in the way in which they think. And I don't know if you've seen this, Brother Joseph, but the Muslims on YouTube love to grab hold of the worst examples of the worst forms of just the wildest kind of behavior, laughing revivals and things like that. I remember one blasphemous video that a Muslim put up. It was blasphemous for two reasons. It was blasphemous, first of all, for the heresy that it was repeating as far as just this foolishness about the Holy Spirit. But then it was blasphemous by saying, if this is what the Holy Spirit is, you better try to stay away from the Holy Spirit because look what it does to people. So one blasphemy was leading to the other blasphemy. But they produce this kind of stuff, and they recognize that this is a good tool to use to, in essence, come after Christians. But they need to realize that a sound biblical Christian is a person who takes all of what the New Testament says in consideration, and that New Testament tells us that we are to be discerning, we are to be stable in our thinking, we are to examine things and hold fast that which is good. The kind of emotionalism that marks this kind of presentation shouldn't impact a Christian. A Christian who might be ignorant of these things should go, well, that's very interesting. I'm going to need to look into that. Not, oh no, what are we going to do? What am I going to do?
Convert to Islam.
And there are people who respond like that, and it's frightening that is the case.
It
but
is.
That music is doing that. But let's finish up because I want to get to the Ahmed Deedat part.
As well
this was
as an
interesting.
online translation. We're going to copy our Hebrew word of the...
See, what they do here is they use an online translator. Now, online translators can be very helpful, but they can also make a real mess of things in the process, too. And notice what this online translator does.
Song of Songs, directly from the Jewish site. It's the same site where you can hear the rabbi reading the verse in Hebrew. All links are in the description, so we're going to copy the word and paste it, and ask, please translate. Are they going to translate the meaning of the name of that person? As the Bible translators did. Which is the praise and the lovely...
Now notice, what they put in there, they did not... I can barely see it there. But that's not Mahmadim.
No, it is
that's
not.
Mahmad.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't believe, ever appears in that form in the Old Testament. I don't think that it does.
Are they going to keep the name as it is? Well, see it yourself.
Muhammad! Oh, there he is!
The world lingo
with the music.
The result is the same. It's Muhammad.
It's almost like Jaws is coming after us here. Here we go. Whoa. Whoa. I just saw something I had not seen before. Put it back up there. I've got to back this up just a little bit here.
Wasn't it greatest scholar or something?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. Let's see what this says again.
Okay.
Because I think it just said something about a great biblical scholar.
Yeah, There it comes. Okay.
My thing didn't disappear fast enough.
Pause it when.
Oh, I saw it. One of the world's greatest biblical scholars. Folks.
Yeah. Sure.
Let me tell you something. Ahmed Deedat was one of the world's greatest showmen.
Yes.
He was not a biblical scholar of any rank whatsoever. If you want to have evidence of that, let me point you to my own YouTube page. Go ahead and mention that.
Yeah, please do.
Dr. Oakley 1689 is my YouTube nick. I have 499 videos.
Okay.
And I think what I'll ask the guys to do is give me tonight's discussion of this, and I'll make it number 500. How's that?
That sounds wonderful.
That'd be a good 500th video for my YouTube channel. Celebration, yes. But I have spent a fair amount of time going through Ahmed Deedat's presentations and demonstrating the man not only was not one of the world's greatest biblical scholars, he did not know the original languages at all.
Right.
His discussion of John 1:1, for example, demonstrates he does not even know the difference between the nominative and accusative forms in the Greek language, which is something you learn in first-year Greek.
Yeah.
This man was not a biblical scholar. He was a great showman. He would spend 20 minutes demonstrating stuff that was not in dispute so as to prove one point, and unfortunately the point would be wrong, but by the time you got through 20 minutes, you forgot what the point was anyways. I mean, that was his methodology of presentation. And to see that, I had somehow missed that when going through it today. One of the world's greatest biblical scholars. Sorry, that does not work at all. Let's see if what Ahmed Deedat had to say.
Yeah.
And there it is right there.
You have no right to translate names of people. Anybody. Your name should be retained. Mr. Black is Mr. Black, though he's white. You have no right to translate names of people. But they have been doing that. Muhammad Ibn, they translated as altogether lovely. But the word Muhammad is there. In the Hebrew language, the word Muhammad is there. In the Hebrew language is there.
All right, let's stop it. Dun, 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 dun. I could actually play it for you, and you could actually hear it a little bit easier because I have it in my presentation. The exact same section with a greater context to it.
And no Jaws music.
And no Jaws music with it either. Yeah, here comes dun, 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 dun. It is somewhat humorous, but that presentation again, Deedat, is confusing. That there is no way that anyone who knows the language is going to say, "Oh no, this is definitely a proper noun, a proper name that is being used here." This is again just fallacious argumentation. I can understand why Khalid would accept it, because if you haven't heard the other side, if you haven't heard from someone who actually can read the language, and if you really do believe that Ahmed Deedat was one of the greatest biblical scholars of all time, then I can understand why you'd believe these things. But check these things out. Check out what is being said. When you check it out, you discover that it simply is not true.
Dr. White, just so the lay people and those who aren't familiar with your terminology, for example, the meme is a performative.
Right.
Okay. What you're saying, the meme in the beginning of this word, Mahmadim, the meme is actually a grammatical device.
It is not a part of the root.
Not a part of the root.
Exactly. It's
in
not
order
part of the
to
word.
make Muhammad, you've got to have the meme to be part of the word.
Yep.
This is like, for example, and this isn't the same thing, but in Arabic, we add like, if I say, aheb. Aheb means I love. But if I say taheb, that means you love. So I'm adding the ta in the front. Ta is not part of the root. It's not part of the word. It is second person singular. Here, this meme is simply making it nominative.
Even though this is a noun instead of it's functioning noun, is verbal.
Right.
But there are a whole list. Gesenius's Hebrew grammar has a whole list. I checked it out today.
Yeah.
It was the same grammar I learned Hebrew in. Well, I won't mention how many years ago now. It's starting to get into the distant past back there, but that was the same grammar that we used.
Yeah.
And there's a whole list of nouns that take that miktal, maktal. There's a whole series of different ways and verbal forms that can carry different meanings in essence with those terms. Yeah. The point is, it is not a part of the root. Right. And to keep it on and then cut the end off, you might as well do things with English words where you cut off ing at the end to try to make it sound different and connect it with something in French or German or something. It just there isn't any connection there. It's bogus argumentation, and it takes us back to the other texts that Muslims have attempted to use over the years to identify Muhammad in the scriptures. None of them work either, and if none of them work, then Khalid and others have to ask themselves a question. How central is this to Muhammad's thinking? How central is this to the claims of the Quran to be the Word of God? If Muhammad is not identified in that way, what does that mean?
Well, of course, as you pointed out so many times, inconsistency is a sign of a failed argument. And
you said that very quickly, and I'm very impressed that you're able to say it that quickly.
You've got it. In a sense,
good.
I'm becoming a disciple here. But, no, God forbid. But really, we're Christ's disciples. But nevertheless, we've got a lot to learn from this man. I'm so glad you're here for the next show as well as the next couple of days. You know, this idea that, okay, we're going to find Muhammad in Song of Solomon. First of all, it's not the law. It's not the Torah. It's not the Injil. On top of that, Muslims like to pick on Song of Solomon for having all this erotic language. And then on top of that, they say, well, you know, the Bible's been corrupted anyways. So which one are you going to choose?
It all depends on what part of discussion you're having at that point in time. If you are pressing forward the claims of Christ from the Gospel of John, well, it's been corrupted.
Sure.
If they're trying to press forward the claims of Muhammad, then all of a sudden, somehow,
it's inspired.
That one particular text has survived corruption through all this time, and it is a matter of picking and choosing. And to me, as I have dialogued with Muslims over the past number of years, it is this inability to give a consistent response that does not involve the use of double standards that, to me, completely vitiates the Islamic attack upon the Christian faith. And this Islamic attack is not just because there are some Muslims out there that like to be argumentative, and there are, obviously. It is necessary in light of the original documents of the religion. The Muslim cannot be neutral about Christian claims. I mean, when you think about it, when you think about what Surah 112 says, Lem yelad wa lem yulad, he neither begets nor is he begotten. If all of Christianity, at least believing Christianity, not fake secular Christianity, if believing Christianity says our central affirmation is that Jesus Christ is the divine Son of God, not the offspring of some God and a wife in eternity or something like that. But if we affirm that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, and Surah Al-Ikhlas, and you know what Ikhlas means? Sincerity, purity. That's what Ikhlas means. Well, if that's the sincere, pure essence of Islamic monotheism, is a Unitarianism that denies what we believe about the relationship of the Father and the Son, they have to attack what we believe. To be a faithful Muslim requires you to deny what the faithful Christian believes. And that's what's such a tragedy about what's going on in Pakistan right now. I'm sure you're well aware of
blasphemy.
The blasphemy laws and the use of these blasphemy laws to accuse innocent people. And to, in this situation right now, we have a sister in the Lord.
Asia Bibi.
Exactly. Who... the president of Afghanistan wants to pardon her, but now the Taliban has said, you do that and we'll kill you. And they've now put out, I think, a 500,000 rupee bounty on her head to anyone who will kill her. For what? For doing what any believing Christian would have to do in confessing that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. And if Muhammad said, no, that's wrong, well, then you have to say Muhammad was not a true prophet. Does that count as blasphemy? Sure does in Pakistan. This kind of twisted thinking, and it is twisted thinking, results in such violence. And we know that there are Muslims outside of Pakistan, obviously, who try to argue against these things, but on the grounds of what? What basis do they have to argue? I know that there are hadith that they say, well, you know, if you're not in an Islamic country. But what about those who are in the Islamic countries? Where is the outcry against Pakistan's blasphemy law that is so obviously used simply to bring false accusations against people? How do you fit that type of thing together? I don't know how they do it.
Well, very quickly, we have I believe, a Muslim caller. That this last caller was Christian, and now I think we have a Muslim caller. We'd like to take her right now. Welcome, you're on the air, dear caller, with Jesus or Muhammad.
Yeah, hi. Yes, I am a Muslim.
Welcome.
And on your subject, is Muhammad in the Bible? I mean, I don't have internet access right now for me to look in some history books, but Muhammad is not in the Bible because he was revealed later on. He was revealed later on after the two other religions, Christianity and Judaism, had failed mankind.
Okay.
Oh, when was that? When was that? And in what writings would we find him?
Why would you find him? He was
Okay.
revealed later
Go
on.
ahead,
I
go
wish
ahead.
my Comcast internet is not working right
Well,
now throughout Michigan. I didn't want to go on air and not have any.
Okay. Dr. White would like to ask you a question or address this issue. Dr.
Okay.
White.
Please understand, we agree with you that Muhammad would not be in the Bible because obviously Muhammad dies in 632. The New Testament is completely written by either AD 70 or shortly thereafterwards, so there was a almost 600-year difference. The problem is the Quran says he is. Yeah. So as a Muslim, you have to believe he is. Let me read you what the Quran says. Surah 61:6, and remember, Jesus, the son of Mary, said, O children of Israel, I am the apostle of Allah sent to you, confirming the law which came before me, and giving glad tidings of an apostle to come after me, whose name shall be Ahmed. So the Quran says that Jesus actually prophesied about Muhammad and said that there would be one who would come after him. And then Surah 7:157 in the Quran says, those who follow the apostle, the unlettered prophet, whom they find mentioned in their own scriptures in the law and the gospel. So the Quran itself says that in the law and the gospel, the Torah and the Injil, which is at least the 5 books of Moses, and then the gospel in the New Testament, that we, the people of the book, find Muhammad mentioned in our own scriptures. That's what we're disputing, is that the Quran makes that claim, but the Quran is wrong. That's our point. So maybe, since that was at the beginning of the program, maybe you didn't catch that part.
I just came on.
Right.
The Quran is wrong because you said.
Let me read it to you again, so you can because if you haven't seen this, make sure to write this down. If you've got your Quran nearby, take a look at it. But in Surah 7, Ayah 157, it says, "Those who follow the apostle, the unlettered prophet, whom they find mentioned in their own scriptures in the law and the gospel." And so it is in fact, if you wanted to, I would be happy to send you the DVDs of my debate with Muslim apologist Shabir Ali. He's very, very well known, and he defended the idea that the Old and New Testaments do, in fact, mention Muhammad, and I obviously defended the thesis that they do not. So it is a Muslim belief. We're not misrepresenting Islam at this point.
Yes, we do believe that there was revealed that there will come a prophet. But for you to say, so you don't believe it for what reason? You don't believe that it was written? You don't believe that
I do not believe that Muhammad is prophesied in either the Old or the New Testament. None of the texts that have ever been brought forward. Realize the Quran doesn't give us a reference to the Bible because the author of the Quran didn't understand the Bible or even possess the Bible.
The author of the Quran is God.
Well, that's what you believe, but the point is, if Allah is the author of the Quran, then why can we not find any references to Muhammad in the Bible when the Quran says they're there?
Because Allah thought when He brought down Judaism and Christianity that they would have been the religions of mankind. But with your alterations and your disbelieving, He had brought down the last religion, which was Islam. Actually, the end of religion.
Okay, but that doesn't
should abide by, because it is a thorough religion from every aspect.
Oh, okay, friend, let me just interrupt you just for a second. Let me just ask you one question, dear friend. Why are you calling in and defending your point of view? What do you want us to believe?
What do you want us to believe?
Yeah, why are you calling us tonight?
Is Muhammad in the Bible?
Right.
I just came on.
Okay, you told us in the beginning of your conversation that you do not believe that Muhammad is in the Bible. Dr. White just showed you that the Quran says Muhammad is in the Bible. So what are you trying to tell us?
I didn't understand. Yes, he is in the Bible.
So you've changed your position now.
No, that he's in the Bible, that he was named Ahmed. He was
Okay.
in the Bible. He was in the Bible warning the disbelievers. There will come a time when a prophet will come down. After he saw all the idiocies going on with the religions.
Okay, but when you first called in, you said that Muhammad wouldn't be in the Bible because he was revealed after the Bible was written. But now it seems that you're agreeing with the Quran. The problem is where we've seen that it's not Song of Solomon. Deuteronomy chapter 18 has to be about a Jewish person, not an Arabic person. John 14 and 16 is specifically about the person of the Holy Spirit of God who will dwell in believers, and specifically in the disciples, which couldn't have anything to do with what happened 600 years later. So if you say that there is a prophecy of Muhammad in the Bible, where is it?
Where is it? Because you have New Testaments, you guys change.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Christians change their books periodically.
Okay.
And
Okay, listen to Dr. White,
actually,
please.
ma'am, I can demonstrate to you that that is not the case historically and factually. But even if that were the case, remember what the Quran itself said. It said, who they find mentioned in their own scriptures. He's talking about the people of his own day. We know exactly what the Bible looked like in the days of Muhammad. There's no question about that.
We have copies
I can
of
show
it.
you entire copies of the entirety of the Bible that predate Muhammad by 300 years. So the point is, in those copies of the scriptures that would have been in existence in the day of Muhammad, where is Muhammad prophesied? You can't say, well, it was taken out, because we know what scriptures Muhammad's audience would have been listening to, what they would have been reading.
The Jews took it out out of fear for their religion. The Jews
Okay, thank you so much for your call. I'm sorry we're running short on time, but ultimately, what's your message? We should accept Islam. Is that what you'd like to tell us tonight?
You should accept Islam. It's the thorough, most complete religion with no New Testaments where you're manually writing words of God.
Okay.
Our book has been untouched.
Ma'am, let me, ma'am.
Untouched word for word. It has not.
Ma'am.
It has never been touched.
Ma'am, could I just point out to you that there are no two mushafs or manuscripts of the Quran in the first 300 years of its history that agree perfectly with one another, and that's a fact that Islamic scholars recognize. Could I point out to you that there have been variations because it was written down that Uthman, your third caliph, had to edit all those things to produce a finalized version, burning the materials that he used. And even after that, Ibn Masud rejected that version and would not give up his own mushaf. Ma'am, I just ask you to take some time to look into what it is you're stating, because the reality is the New Testament will survive that examination. I don't believe that the Quran can. I have taken that time to do that kind of study. I would invite you to do the same thing, because honestly, the difference between our religions, when you say yours is a complete religion, I know what you mean by that. But may I suggest to you that what Islam lacks is what it is rejected from the New Testament, and that is a mediator between God and man, the man Christ Jesus, who took on human flesh to give himself voluntarily as the perfect sacrifice for the sins of God's people.
Amen.
And by faith in him, we can have peace with God, not because of anything we have done, but because of the perfection of the work that he has done in our behalf.